that ship! Blast them!
Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of Armor Party. I'm your host, Jason Chiodo, and along with Mike Forrester, we are absolutely stoked to have another Star Wars maker on the show, especially one that has such reverence for the full spectrum of minutia contained in all the costumes and props from this galaxy far away. So stay tuned, costumers, and make sure to stick around for the whole episode where our guests will drop some brand new research on one of our favorite Star Wars costumes that's never been revealed before. I am reminding everyone that at the time of this broadcast, we are less than 220 days away from Star Wars Celebration Los Angeles. So I hope that whatever special projects that you've got prepared for the con are starting to make their way from the drawing board to the workbench. So let's not waste any more time and drop into the cockpit for another Armor Party. Take it away, Mike.
Our next guest is a dedicated Imperial aviator and the preeminent expert on all things twin ion engine. But to limit his experience to just the warbirds of the Empire would be as foolish as taking on a TIE Avenger and a T-16 Skyhopper. He's been a flatland BMX freestyler, a punk rocker, pro mountain bike trails rider, droid builder, and 19-year member of the 501st Legion, and he literally wrote the book on the Pee Wee Herman bike. You may know him as Jay TIE Pilot, but we know him as Jay Skwarlo. Jay, welcome to Armor Party, my friend.
Oh, that was a great intro there. Thank you.
Well, you can thank Jason for that because he's been writing some of these this season of Armor Party. It's been awesome. Jay, thank you so much for being here. You're coming from Southern California, correct?
Yes, Orange County.
Orange County. All right. So you Southern California guys got great builds and you're incredibly dedicated to it because it is the American part of Star Wars history. And I think for the most part, we can appreciate that. And especially when we talk about going back to almost 50 years of Star Wars, the first time we get introduced to TIE pilots, I got to imagine we have to ask this question. Jay, what was your first experience with Star Wars?
Well, I'm old enough that I saw A New Hope in the theater as a little kid. So when I was 6, I saw A New Hope. And when that Star Destroyer goes over at the opening, it's just, your mind is blown. Like
that was it.
That was it.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. It was insane. It was, and then when that hit, it was like everything was Star Wars. You know, the school book fair, all Star Wars books, like Star Wars toys, Star Wars, everything was Star Wars right into Empire and then right into Jedi and then the dark years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it was, it was just all full throttle Star Wars from the get-go.
Do you remember the movie theater you saw it in?
I don't. It was very dark. I don't remember.
Sure. I always have to ask because I remember, it's really incredible that as all of us, as fans, as builders and costumers, we have continued to pack in information into our brains, but some of those core memories stick around, right? And it's incredible at how many, when we ask people this question, it's the memory of the people who have been on the show, frankly, is astounding. So the fact that you can remember seeing it when you were 6 years old, you've been a Legion member for a long time. And part of what's been really fun is depending on what side of the comment section you are on, Jay, which I have to laugh about this because you're either a complete fiend or you're an absolute super fan. And it's been amazing getting to know you from afar because I remember running across you in COVID when I'm looking at a project, right? And I'm like, oh, should I build a TIE pilot this year? And
yes,
I remember, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
He's like, yes, you should.
Yes, please.
Everyone should. Everyone
sure.
should.
But I remember like seeing a lot of your comments and being like, oh, this Jay guy, I mean, man, this guy knows his stuff. And it's been really cool coming to just appreciate, your level of I would say not only fandom, but just like detail and dedication to craft. It's been really cool.
Well, thanks. That's nice to hear. I appreciate
Jason, wow, and we got a lot to talk about because we're getting into it. But Jason, from your side of things, you're an aviator too. You're our resident pilot guy and thing to maker. And I ask you all these, not only lightsabers, but I ask you about pilot stuff too. What was your initial reaction as a, knowing you as a friend, nearly brother at this point? You are a dedicated rebel in every sense of the way. So I remember you were struggling with being like, I think I got to build this TIE pilot.
Hey man, I'm an equal opportunity aviator whenever it comes to Star Wars stuff.
As long as it's fast, right?
Yeah. Just my goal right now is to have one of everything if I can. So just making my way, and I started with a squadrons variant of a TIE pilot, which is, I don't know, just me being nonconformist and maybe a little just contrarian. But
it looks great too.
I think it looks so cool, right? Hey, thank you. I really appreciate that. Hey, so you're a Legion member. You're a 4-digit Legion member. Been around almost since the very beginning. I know that you've had various roles in command staff, both locally and with the Jolly Roger detachment. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience being in command staff with the Legion, and especially your role as detachment costume advisor?
Yeah, for sure. I was on staff for about 5 years total. Always as DCA, a couple times as DXO for the Jolly Roger. So, in the DCA, their main role is it stands for Detachment Costume Advisor. So what happens, when anybody has a question about a costume, we try to run a mentor program, but usually people will just, message directly and say, hey, 9 times out of 10, are these boots okay? But it was, we help people with their costumes, kind of point them in the right direction. And being on staff, it's important not to sort of favor one maker over the other. So when somebody asks, where do I get a flight suit? You just give them the list of, people that to do a good job and let them kind of go off on their own. But there's that's my favorite part of being on staff is helping new recruits, get their costumes together, answering questions. And every once in a while, we'll get a new recruit that's like, I want it to be super accurate. So I'm like, oh, yeah, come here. Let me tell you something, guy.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's always great. And then, of course, as a DCA, you write the CRLs and you maintain the CRLs when new information presents itself and that kind of thing. So that's mainly what my role on staff was. And I took a break this year. So I'm not currently on staff, but who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Jay, something that I thought was really interesting when we were talking, kind of, talking just getting the episode up and talking shop a little bit was, you're a person who loves the build. You like the details, you like all of that. And for you, you're like, I get out, I do my troops, but it's not like my top priority in terms of your contributions to the Legion, because like you love the costumes, right? And for some people, you said a great line of like, there is something for everyone in the 501st Legion. And we've always had this conversation about people who really want to go out and they want to, say, make their communities know that there are Star Wars people out there. And a lot of it sometimes is just recognizing that there are people out there who want to find a crew, want to find a tribe, want to find someone who feels like they care so much about something and they want to find other people who feel the same way. And you have really become a person, I think, that like I would look at and go, if you've got a detail question or you want to talk about particulars about, being able to notice the differences, because I have come across conversations that you've been having with people that I almost get frustrated myself for being like, I almost feel like I can't see what you're seeing here. But then as soon as you point it out, I go, yo, he's absolutely right. Between you and Luke Daly, I swear you guys have like an extra set of eyes that I don't have. But I think it's interesting, this idea of what the 501st Legion is for people. And some people go, is it trooping? Is it accuracy? Is it building costumes from Star Wars? Is it wearing costumes from Star Wars? And you're kind of a person who's like, man, we can do it all. There's a place for everyone in it.
Yeah, I think that's true with the 501st, and I think it's true with Star Wars in general. Like, once you're in, like, you're in it. Star Wars will always be there for you. The fandom will always be there for you. Like you take a break, come back. And if you love Rebels, awesome. If you're strictly into Andor, awesome. Also, there's something for everybody, and that goes for the costumes. That goes for everything. Like I troop like. I make sure I do an Alzheimer's walk once a year for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because my grandmother had Alzheimer's, so that's kind of like my thing. I do that one every year, get my one troop in. But other than that, it's hard to find time. I don't troop that much. I enjoy researching the costumes. I enjoy helping people with the costumes. I enjoy building the costumes, and that's okay. It's fine. I'm not going to fault somebody. On the Jolly Roger Squadron, we have an Ace of Aces forum where people actually count their troops, and then when they get to 50 troops, they're an ace, and then when they get to 100 troops, they're a double ace, and then so on and so forth. And then people are into it. It's probably the most popular thing on the forum, other than merch runs. But that's,
aren't they always, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's two things that, like, merch and troops are two things that I'm just kind of like, it's cool, but it's not really my thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Jolly Roger Detachment is the largest detachment in the 501st Legion, which goes back and forth with the TKs, which is your classic stormtroopers for the white armor for the most part. And I know that then, of course, then the spats happen on the message boards about being like, well, there's, the TIE reserves, and that's too, but no, we have all this conversation. And I always think it's funny because I'm like, at the end of the day, we got more troopers, and that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all in good fun because I know, like, it was while I was on staff that we kind of became the largest detachment.
Yeah.
And then now I checked today. I can't tell. I know it's still the largest detachment. But it's like you said, it's more troopers. And as far as the TIE Reserve goes, I want to address that real quick.
Oh yeah, please do. This is a show for you, Jay.
Sure. And real quick for the uninitiated, and honestly, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast if you don't, but the TIE Reserve is one of the most accessible costumes that someone who is a prospective member of the Legion could go for. It is basically a TIE pilot without the armor, without the chest and back armor and the helmet, and they just wear an officer's cap. You'll see them in the hangar and Return of the Jedi and some other places, but black head to toe, and it's a really I don't want to say easy, but it's the path of least resistance in order to get up and participating in the 501st.
And you can build a lot of costumes off of it, not just TIE pilot, which is cool, but that is like a nice way you start that, and then later on you add the hard parts if you want to, and then you're a TIE pilot. But as far as I've heard some chatter over the years that reserve TIE pilots, it's a cheater costume, it's not real, blah, 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 blah. So I dug into I knew I had this. I just wanted to get the phrasing right. Yeah. In Return of the Jedi, there are 26 reserve TIE pilots in the scene where Vader arrives in the hangar. Yeah. Okay. And on the official costume list call sheet, they are called Inside Bunker Darth Vader pilots. So they are called pilots, and that is the costume, and there are 26 of them in that scene.
More than the biker scouts. There's more than the biker scouts.
And they've also got Darth Vader in their name. So whenever the person comes up and says, look, it's Vader, they're maybe going to be right. Yeah, kind of.
Okay. See, we're learning something new here on Armor
There's
Party.
six TIE pilots, including the 2 hero helmets, and 6 full, hard armored TIE pilots, and then 26 reserves in that scene.
Wow.
So there you go.
Jay, do you have a just because now we're speaking deep language here. Do you have an idea of how many actual TIE pilots were built for the original trilogy?
Yes, I do.
You seem like the guy who would know that.
Yeah, there are 14 made. I can account for all but 2. I try and kind of keep track of which is crazy that many have surfaced. I'm talking about known helmets today.
Okay.
There's, out there. So we can account for all but 2, which is crazy. So yeah, there was 14, and that's it. 14 3 hero helmets. The rest were just, the black with the cogs on them.
Yeah. These are Shepperton original casts the molds, and then from there, do you have any idea of are there rumors of where those other two have gone? Were they,
I haven't heard any of that.
Because we've heard the Sand Troopers ended up in broken and ended up in a dumpster somewhere, and somehow someone grabbed something. But at some point, and again, the thing that I love to point out is that the original Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back was painted over for Return of the Jedi. Right. And so at some point, someone on set decided this is important, this isn't that important. And even for certain decisions, sometimes it might be a timing thing, a space thing, whatever those things are.
Right.
But it's pretty, I'm with you, that's pretty amazing that we know where those specific helmets are.
Well, the one hero helmet with the silver tube stripe area and the little Pac-Man cog, that one's actually was painted over all black after the fact for display. And it's when that Magic of Myth show, remember there was a costume show, where Lucasfilm took out all the costumes, Magic of Myth, that's the helmet that was on display. That's the hero helmet that's been painted over. You can faintly see the call signs on the Mohawk, but yeah, that's it. So they were even painting over stuff after Return of the Jedi. And then there were 14 made and no new ones made for Return of the Jedi or Empire or anything. It's just the initial batch for A New Hope, and that's it.
Interesting. Okay. And who knows, the other two might be gone.
Yeah, it's totally possible. And it's also possible that they surface. You never. Right. I mean, it's amazing that the two AT-AT helmets, they only made two and they're both accounted for, but none of the chest boxes are. So it's weird what's out there.
Held on to.
You never know. And with the prices some of this stuff is bringing at auction these days, new stuff is coming out of the woodwork left and right.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're talking about $3 million X-Wings and that kind of stuff, people are, they're going to go in the garage for $3 million and dig that thing out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. When you're trying to determine a costume detail is actually screen accurate, how are you finding sources that you trust the most? Is it for you? Is it production stills? Is it behind the scenes photos? Is it a mashup of different sources that you're kind of almost like, photoshopping together from different angles for references? Because you are a person who knows these details. I love following along with you when you start showing examples of how things are. What is your process for kind of determining details in that regard?
I mean, a lot of the stuff dealing with the OT stuff, you have to go by pictures, go by what you see on screen, that kind of thing. Because a lot of the people, unfortunately, that worked on the costumes are no longer with us.
Right.
Excuse me. So, and that's kind of why when I went into like the Rogue One helmets and the modern stuff, I really wanted to find out, go to the people that made them, go to the people that handled them, go to the people that wore them. And then it's a combination. It's promotional photos, it's screen caps, it's behind the scene photos, it's secret photos that I get from people that work on, like industry people. It's a combination of everything, and you can kind of, connect the dots on most things. I mean, the best thing is identifying like an actual found part. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
World when you're like, oh, that's that, and then because it's right. There's no question.
Jay, with apologies to the folks that may only be listening to this podcast, I'm going to bring up some visual references for you. So if you're listening, head over to YouTube and check this one out. Jay, you sent me over a photo that has some references in here of some things that I believe are details that you tracked down, that you were the first person to be able to determine.
No, not necessarily. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. This is, right. I have a little group on Facebook, the TIE research group on Facebook. Come on over, where we share as much information as possible. And actually, Kane Marshall found that little circle thing there is the third hose shows up in A New Hope. It's actually seen on screen. You can barely see it underneath the guy's arm. And he's the one that found that out. So that was cool. And I like being wrong about things because I get to learn something. So a lot of times I'll post a picture up on the group and say, hey, do you guys see anything interesting? And a lot of people think like, oh, he's playing some. I just wanted a fresh set of eyes, and a fresh set of eyes like Kane is going to find that thing right there. Piero Baccos, I don't know if you know him from Italy. He is kind of the first one in like 2007 that spotted those ribs on the chest box between the tile and the
switches.
rocker switches there. Yeah, he was the first one that was like, hey, wait a minute. He noticed it in the picture and then called that out. And then I kind of, I identified the little hat washer thing that people have said for years was a jack or was a snap. It's not. It's a Mitchell part. But
and this is the one that's also shared on the X-Wing box, right?
Yeah, I think most of the Mitchell parts.
washer.
Yeah, I think most of the Mitchell parts got a lot of use. They seem to show up on all kinds of stuff.
For reference, because we're looking at, especially right here, we're looking at TIE pilot stuff, and specifically OT and New Hope. We're looking at the chest box, we're looking at the comm pad, we're looking at the hoses. And Jay, you are referencing the Mitchell turntable sweeper arm, which is and again, for people who are, to Jason's point, if you're new here, hello, join us in this deep dive. But for a lot of people, the difficult part about especially original trilogy costumes is that they were not, especially us as Americans, when we go to a old hardware store, there is a good chance that the pieces that are used on these costumes were all from the UK and Europe for the most part. And so when we see old parts, sometimes those parts never even made it to the US. And so when you're looking at specific aerators or whatever these are, these sync parts or wherever they were, kind of kit bashing costumes together, it's very hard to find these specific costumes because they might have never been here in the US. And what I think is really cool about this is when we're talking about the Mitchell record sweep, which is essentially, it was designed to clean records, right? And this thing was broken apart. It's found on the X-Wing chest box. It's found on the TIE chest box. It is found on Boba Fett's armor in multiple spots. It is found on a ton of parts, actually, metal parts from Boba Fett are from the Mitchell turntable. What do you think was specific about this one piece of equipment that John Mallow, whoever, was like, take that thing apart. We got to look at this.
It has to be like a convenience thing. They had to have been close. I know Mitchell is the ones who machined the C-3PO eyes, like customs. So it could have been, them just looking around in the back room and like, oh, look at these little doodads. And, I mean, there's parts from that turntable on Vader, on Fett, on, it's the gift that keeps on giving for Star Wars.
Luke's lightsaber, everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And what's crazy is I tend to go to the source when I want to find something out or I'm interested in, I try to get as close to it as I can. And actually and it wasn't that long ago, it was like maybe 8 years ago, I was just like, I wonder if Mitchell has anything. And I ended up, emailing somebody over there and, oh, Steve's been here since, the 60s. Let me ask him. And Steve emails me back, yeah, we have this, that, and the other thing. And I cleaned them out of cone knobs and
no way.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot left. They were just about to move. So they were just kind of going through everything. So I hit it just at the perfect time to get my hands on what they had left. So.
Now, Jay, I'm curious. I mean, there's a cottage industry that has, popped up of people making very finely machined exact replicas of these spare parts from 50 years ago. Were you able to talk to the folks at Mitchell about that? Like, are they aware that this is something that's occurring?
I had heard through the grapevine that they weren't too stoked on Star Wars people using their high-end turntable doodads, gluing them on costumes. So I kind of didn't really bring it up with them. I was just kind of like, do you have any of these? I will take them.
I'm a vintage record guy. What can I say?
Yeah. Exactly. And I
got to tell you, a few years ago, there was a particular manufacturer that did a new run of cone knobs. And it was like, this is the best cone knob. And I spent, honestly, I spent $30 on a cone knob. It's the real piece is probably a penny or something, right? And
they were. Well, the thing too is all this Mitchell stuff is clear anodized. Nobody does that, right?
Oh wow!
Just FYI.
All right.
This is the minutia that we're talking about. The original parts were clear anodized. So when you get a raw aluminum part, it's a little too shiny.
Sure.
And there's nothing that really recreates that that look. I know Cantina Dude in Canada, Mike, was doing some runs of some parts in that clear anodized. So that takes it that next level, kind of a
Man, amazing. I
insane
love
thing.
that.
Is that Quest up in Canada?
No, he's Cantina Dude. He goes by.
Oh, okay.
He does
Okay.
a lot of Vader belts. He was really. I think that's his main thing that he's known for is super accurate ANH Vader belts.
Okay. And
And
what
being
did you say? A
Canadian.
cottage industry of like someone who makes this one part and they do it better than anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I always love that when you find somebody who just like specializes in like I restore tea kettles. I love that eccentric.
Yes,
You know that
100%.
eccentric. Somebody who just create. I just collect C.S. Lewis books only, second editions for some reason.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love people like that. I love
Yeah,
it. Love it.
absolutely.
And apparently I am one of those people.
I hate to break it to you, Jay. You definitely are. So
Yes.
if we get into these specific pieces, I guess I also have an overview question as we're getting into, the very specific parts. But, in terms of, like I was saying, we're finding vintage parts from another country. How often are you coming across certain parts that, like, do you have eBay search settings so that you get pinged for stuff? Like, do you have is there a motor pool of part places that you go and look at? Like, where are you finding these I don't want you to give away your sources if you feel protective, but like, how do you find yourself finding these now 50-year-old parts?
A lot of it is eBay UK. A lot of it, and for example, the gray hose, the third gray hose on the TIE Pilot chest box that was used in A New Hope. It's also on the X-Wing chest box with a little, fitting on the end. That I identified the exact one, and then it was just like a daily. When you wake up in the morning, you just check eBay UK for bath drain tube used.
Sure.
And then one day somebody posted one in a box, like
Brand new.
And I messaged them, hey, do you have any more? And they sent me a picture of like 10 of them on a table. I was like, I will take them all. So it's stuff like that where and I'm a hoarder with that kind. It's terrible. My garage is a disaster, but it's, that's the same thing with, the little box, the pill box in the back. That's a record player needle holder. Same thing. It's just you search. Wow. Everything pops up on eBay eventually. The hat washer is the hardest one. I've only found 2 in my whole searching, which is weird because it's a Mitchell part. But yeah, I mean, it's basically eBay searches. There's no like great, I don't have any in that anybody else doesn't have.
There's no great ancestor of the Mitchells that is like, oh yeah, that's our guy Jay. He's always asking us for the stuff we're going to throw out.
No, and occasionally there'll be people that don't ship to the U.S., so
right.
I just have CFO ship it over to me. And same with him. He just ordered a bunch of tape recorders and nonsense that I've shipped to him. So, you find people around the world. Most of my friends are around the world, which is awesome. But
that's amazing.
That is the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
In the tradition of Star Wars creating these otherworldly looking props out of real world items that are scrounged from every location, one of the hallmarks that we know is that continuity kind of takes a back seat. Things look different from scene to scene sometimes. How do you figure out what is actually part of the costume versus maybe a lighting or a camera trick or possibly something that happens in post-production, or actually something that is changing from scene to scene because it isn't the same part?
Right. Well, I mean, that's one of those things that, they don't use, in filming, they don't use white a lot, like, so most things you see on screen as white that read white aren't white. They're gray or they're, so for example, the cogs on the TIE helmet for years, they're white. They're not white. They're silver. All of them are silver. There's no white cogs on any TIE helmets at all. And luckily for me, and for everybody really, there's pictures online that can show that. There's people that, will show you great pictures. I'm lucky enough to have a couple friends that actually own screen use stuff, so I can go over and look and double check and match things up. But, as far as trying to figure out costume wise, what to present as a costume, that's why, as a DCA and having a reputation as someone who's concerned about accuracy, people would think that I would be the one pushing the CRLs to be more strict, when in actuality, I was, as far as the TIE pilot was concerned, they have the white cogs in the helmet is approvable. The white stripe on the bottom of the box, that's also silver. There's no white ones in existence, but you can get approved for the white one because that's what it looks like on screen. So it's fine. I want more people to join. I don't want to make it harder. What was happening was that people with accurate costumes were getting rejected. So that's kind of where I sort of like stepped in and was like, this isn't right. And that's kind of when I got on staff. So, but as far as like determining what is what, I mean, luckily these days we have so much reference, 4K, there's people that work on the shows that'll tell you things. There's behind the scenes, featurettes, you can find this stuff out. And when you make your costume accurate to screen, down to the last dumb little detail, when you go out there, you do look, people comment on my costume, and I want to like toot my own horn, but like, they say like, wow, that costume looks really good. And it's a combination, all those little details add up. So when you wear your belt in the right spot and your thing is the right color and like everything comes together and it looks like it does on screen because it is what it is on screen.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just because I'm curious, Jay, are you expecting to find something new when they release the 4K A New Hope original cut undespecialized in February? Or do you feel like your research has been sound enough that you're not going to be caught off guard by anything? Because I have seen some of the footage from the 4K and it is crazy how much worse the stormtroopers look than what, you know what I mean? Because like I watched like a little screener that I think, obviously I think from the Lucasfilm side of things, they're not too concerned about, a 50-year-old movie leaking. But in terms of like downloading, and I wouldn't do this. I would never do this. But let's just say someone sent me something and I looked at it.
You wouldn't download a pizza.
I wouldn't download a car.
Exactly, yeah.
But looking at the stuff, I'm like, man, feel like I am seeing Star Wars almost brand new again, because I'm sitting there being like, cool. I never saw that. I'm like looking at tape and stuff. I'm like seeing duct tape and stuff that I never knew was there. Do you feel like, watching these movies in February, you're going to be like, hey, that's new?
I've been fortunate enough to have like hands-on experience with screen use stuff. So I don't know that any like great, I would love it if, the lenses are purple, but they're not. But
sure. Yeah, something along those lines.
I would love it if that was to come out. But to that end, I've spoken to Glenn Dillon, the costume designer from Rogue One, about the TIE pilot and him redesigning it. And basically, the way the Rogue One looks is what he thought they looked like in A New Hope. And then when he went back and looked at the real costumes, he was like, oh, wait, that suit's cotton? Like he didn't, like he was like, the way in his mind pictured it, it was like, this, all dialed in. And then when he went and looked at it, it's all wonky and he's wearing a Dickies work suit, that your mind plays tricks on you.
This was the Vader red lens thing in Rogue One, right? Because, and it still pops up occasionally on my feed. People are like, oh, Vader's got red lenses. It was like, I talked to the guy who made Vader's helmet. He was like, they're ski goggles. It's an amber lens, but it was under red light, so then it becomes this. And then in Rogue One, they're straight up like, we made the lenses red because we all thought they were red, right? And that was like a John Knoll move, right? That like if it comes down from the top as the guy who is making, spearheading the operation, you're going to make the lenses red. So it is funny how our brains can end up being the driving force despite the conversation about accuracy and going back through it. And so even the same conversation, Jason, you've talked about this about, the shininess of the suit. It's unfortunately compared to the Rogue One suits, which were flashy and shiny, it's cotton. It's just cotton, right? There's no way around it.
Yeah. And to the red lens thing, when you see someone with red lenses, it's jarring. To me, it's like, oh, Jesus. And because they aren't really red on screen. When you know what I mean? Like it doesn't look right. Yeah. Like a New Hope person with red, it looks off. So that comes back to like, if you do it as it was on screen, it's going to translate. You're going to get in that right lighting. Your skin's going to reflect, and you're going to get that red tint to the amber lens, and you're going to look right. When you try and imitate what your mind thinks it saw on screen, things get a little weird, which is why I tell people that are building and researching, like, research the original props. Don't research replicas. Like, don't use replicas for reference. Even my replicas, don't use them. Because what happens is you end up with a bunch of Elvis impersonators. They don't look like Elvis, but they all look like each other. So, you want to get that original reference, because maybe I messed up something, or if you go to the source, you're going to be right.
Hey, I just want to go on record saying I think that the Rogue One costumes look amazing. I mean, OT is always going to be classic, but I think they look really great. I mean, that's part of the reason why I wear a TIE kit that's based on a Rogue One flight suit. And, talking about John Knoll and the idea of making that film and the design of that film the way that you remember it rather than the way that it actually was. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So kind of in the same topic there, what would you say is the biggest misconception some people might have about screen accurate costumes, in that, like, is there a difference between being accurate to what was intended by the costume department and being accurate to what it actually was?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how do you know what the costume department intended? That, I hear that sometimes with, like, well, they didn't mean for it to look like this. It's like, well, they kind of know what they're doing, and they know what cameras do when the things get in front of them. So I think they meant for it to look like that. So as far as, like, intent, like I said, like Rogue One, they intended to make them look like they thought they looked in A New Hope. And I think they did the Rogue One, I think they did a great job. I'm a huge fan. I did tons of research on that costume, mostly because the people that did it are with us and accessible, unlike, with OT, I'm chasing breadcrumbs and pictures, and people aren't alive anymore. Everybody that worked on Rogue One is around, and they can talk to them, and you can go see them. And, so I gathered all the info on that. So it's all in one spot. So it won't happen with the Rogue One. People will know everything about the Rogue One. So, but as far as what you don't know what they intended. So I don't feel like that argument really holds much water.
Yeah.
Jason and I are both biker scouts. That was my first costume.
I just built one of those helmets. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that your first costume?
It was my first. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, as a kid growing up in Michigan, woods and trees were like my thing. So Endor to me they're the Forest Moon of Endor. This is that kind of podcast. It was like, for me, I felt like they're riding around my backyard. This is crazy. But going into the levels of detail, and shout out to, of course, Mickey Bukowski as being the person that I remember, like, when I'm joining the Legion, I'm like, I don't know if I should join, because I'm looking at guys like this who are like, whoa, this guy knows this costume. And it's funny talking about intentionality, because we can definitely, there are those things where you go, did they mean to have zip ties on the shoulders and put, you know what I mean? And then you go, well, at some point, even though they cast people to be about the same body type, the difference of a couple centimeters in a bicep or a length of a fingers or something makes something off. And so you get into this conversation about being like, the UK was where they filmed most of the action scenes, and, a 5'7" Englishmen compared to our wildly different people that we have at certain points in Hollywood. It has this idea of going, like, set accurate, screen accurate. How does a costume fit you in terms of proportion? And that's a thing that always comes up about with the Legion, especially because if it fits you well, they should all kind of feel like they're the same. And that's where we kind of get into this idea of going, well, what is intentionality? If you wouldn't have been cast in the same way that, if you're over a certain height, you can't be a fighter pilot in the US Navy, not because they're like, we think you're too tall, but because they're like, we literally didn't design it for this.
Well, I mean, I'm 6'4", 250. So, I mean, and I think my costume fits okay. You can make anything fit.
Yeah.
Properly. I've seen all, the body type, body size. There's ways to make everything work. Some, as well as I do, as far as a TK kit goes, a stormtrooper, if the RS is small because it's screen size, or you can go to AP, which is a little bigger, and then there's the FX suit from way back that was gigantic. There's makers out there, Walt's Trooper Factory makes an undersized TIE pilot helmet for kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then with 3D printing, you just hit that scale button. So, I mean, there's ways around, making it fit, making it look, I get a lot of things with the, like, I don't want to look like a bobblehead in a TIE pilot. Well, TIE pilots look like bobbleheads. The ones on screen look like bobbleheads. It's
a big helmet.
It's a giant helmet.
It is a big helmet, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need fans. There's just tons of space in there. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
it's just the way it looks. So, I mean, I think anybody can make their costume look good.
Yeah.
Jay, before we move on to a different topic, I want to bring up some of these photos of you in costume here. We can just go through these real quick. On the left, it looks like we have this is your Andor tie, right?
Yeah, that's Andor. That's a really comfortable trooping suit. Like, as far as like, that one's really comfortable. And
so what? So is that one that's a cotton twill that's made in the style of Rogue One? Is that how that works? Kind of.
It's a prototype suit from Wampaware that he only got the one, and it just happened to be my size. And it's sort of, he was trying to figure out how to do a Rogue One that was shiny but wasn't nylon, that wouldn't make you sweat. So it's some cotton rayon type blend that's shiny, but it isn't as hot as the full nylon, like a Rogue One suit. So that's what that suit is. But it's pretty comfy.
It's a great looking variant of the TIE pilot for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people when that came out were a little like, "Whoa, what's with the cogs? What's with this? What's with that?" If you look at the photo in the costumes book, the Star Wars costumes book, if you look at that and think that's what they were looking at, because that's what they were looking at, they did a great job. It looks just like that one. That's the Andor, and then next to it's the just the OT, which is a little different. Yeah.
What a cool, man. This costume is so, I'm like, I can't look at this for too long or else I'm going to be like, do I need one?
Well, it's so comfortable. That's the thing. It's basically a jumpsuit and you're wearing a helmet. I'm not a face character kind of guy. Like, I don't even want to be my character. So, I mean, it's, if X-Wing pilots, the prototype helmet had like a mouth guard on it that they got rid of because you couldn't see the actors' faces. If they kept that, I would do an X-Wing tomorrow. I just don't want to show.
All right.
So it's a great way to be comfortable. You can sit, you can run, you can ride a bike.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So it's a great purpose costume.
This next one we're looking at is a screenshot of the front page of the 501st Legion website. It looks like you made it onto the cover here, right?
Yeah. That was the old website. That was a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. That's fun.
Yeah.
Is this Celebration Anaheim?
Yeah, that's Celebration Anaheim. Red Dodge took that picture before the crowds came. We got in a little early and got to take pictures. But yeah.
This is a Rogue One kit?
That's a Rogue One kit. And actually, when Glenn Dillon was doing commission drawings, he did a drawing of basically that, of me and that.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Which is really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. One of my prized nerd things.
And Jay, does your eye for detail, does that transfer to the ships themselves? Are you a model collector?
Not. I mean, I have a couple of the, I have the vintage white TIE fighter and I have the Interceptor. That's my favorite looking one. But as far as, in the intro, you said, TIE Avenger against a T-16 or whatever. I have no idea what you're talking about. So
this is great.
Yeah, I'm like not. Right. I'm not that guy. I honestly don't even know like Hero 1, Hero 2, Hero 3, which one of the TIE heroes. I just go by teardrop. Okay. Teardrops, Silver Mohawk, or Silver Tube Stripes. Like,
that's cool.
I'm funny. I'm bad at lore. Like, I try and learn it, but I don't. And then like post after the movie where they give, this is, Baron von Stinky Face, who's flew the TIE pilot into the Death Star. Like when they give them backstories and names later, like I don't know any of that stuff.
That's funny.
Anyway, Joe Booth took this picture in London. So I just want to give, that's like my favorite picture ever. He took an amazing picture.
I remember these big open doors there. They made for some pretty dramatic photos for people.
Yeah.
This is your Andor kit, I believe, right?
Yeah. That one, that's the other thing. Traveling overseas with a kit was a piece of cake. It just went in one side of the luggage and I took my helmet with me as carry-on. Piece of cake.
That's true. Yeah, that's good. But it does break down conveniently. Jay, how many Star Wars celebrations have you been to?
I was at, my first one was Celebration 4 in LA. Was it? I think it was 4 was in LA. So,
Wow. And then
Wow.
after
So-
that, you went to everyone after that.
No. I haven't been. I skipped a whole bunch. I've
Okay.
been to maybe 3 or 4. So I went to Celebration 4 in my Vader kit. I was Vader that one. So
That's good. 6'4", I'm that's a good Vader size.
Yeah.
well, that's what happened when I first joined the Legion as a stormtrooper. It was I go in troops and they'd be like, "Don't stand next to Vader," because I was always taller than Vader.
Sure,
and then
sure.
I show up my TIE pilot and they'd be like, "Don't stand next to Vader." And then I was
Yeah,
just like,
sure,
you know what?
right.
Screw it. I'll just be Vader. How about that? Can I stand
Yeah.
next to Vader if I am Vader?
Yeah.
I'll be Vader. So,
There we go.
but with
Yeah.
Vader, you need 1 per troop, so you didn't get to wear it
Yeah.
that often. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, I don't have a TK in the repertoire yet, but I'm 5'6". So everybody at any opportunity, they're always like, dude, you got to build a TK. We need some short troopers here.
It's a cool kit. Like, I mean, I really enjoyed build. That was my introduction to the Legion was building an FX kit, like way back in the day when that was like the only one available. So, my trick mod on that one was, the little belt boxes that hang off the belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Motorola Razr flip phone fit perfectly in the back of it. So I
Oh,
could carry
yeah.
my phone on. Yeah, so I
And-
could carry my phone on troops.
Yeah. And if you start hearing that, I guess this would be a T9 sound in the Imperial March, you'd be like, oh, hang on, I got to take all my stuff off to get to it.
Right.
One more shot of you here. This is another celebration. Is this London?
Yeah,
Again?
that's
okay.
London.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's London.
This is your
Yeah.
first approval photo, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of like I post this every once in a while, just kind of show folks like everybody starts the same way. My kit wasn't great back then. It's a Don Post classic action helmet that was repainted. It was when that helmet was still acceptable. You can't even get approved with it anymore. And I have the wrong gloves, and the chest box is nothing special, and it's just your basic kit. Which is fine.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, and that's everybody starts somewhere, and if you want to take it to that next level, glad to help you, and if you don't, also cool. Whatever you want to do. We're just happy to have more TIE pilots.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just love hearing people's stories of how they got into trooping, and I do, as time has gone on, where Jay, you're a parent, I'm a parent. You get busy with stuff, and sometimes it can be, for some people in our Legion here in Michigan, we've got people with 500 plus troops, and I'm like,
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and I think it's really cool because it shows that they're dedicated to that one part of the Legion. But then at the same time, I find someone who is either incredibly helpful in terms of making stencils, or, hey, I laid this out, so in case you want to do that. Like, everyone has their part of what makes this hobby really great. And I can't thank people like Ramey and Jason Schmidt of Wampa's Workshop. Like, there are so many great people who are providing models. Like, the amount of engineers that have come out of the woodwork to be like, hey, I modeled this part up and I put it up for free, just download it. I'm like, these people are also huge helps to the 501st, especially as we've gotten into less vacuum forming and more, modeling in that sense. And I'm just curious, from your standpoint, where do you think Star Wars costuming is right now, as someone who has followed it all the way from the beginning of, rough cuts and tough glue and, ear gaps and all that stuff that we've come to love, lopsidedness and rough paint jobs and all that stuff. Like, where do you think Star Wars costuming is now, given, all these new productions? Because their next topic, I think people are going to find very interesting in that regard.
I mean, I think it's the best it's ever been. It just keeps getting better and better. Back when I started, and this is sort of what led me into going down these rabbit holes, was when I started, there was a lot of information, and there still is, but not as much. There's still, if you're in the hobby long enough, folks that either have screen use stuff or have access to photos, and they're like, I'll show you, please don't share. Please don't tell anybody this, and you respect that. Been around for 20 years. I respect that. But I remember when I was doing my A New Hope Vader, it was like super gatekeepy. Like, there was the Vader community was very closed off at that point. So in my mind, I was like, all right, who wore that suit more than anybody? Kermit Eller. So I found him, called him. We talked about the guy. I interviewed him about the costume, and I got all the details right from the guy that put it on more than anybody else. But like today, that information is out there. Today, there's scans of things. People, it's amazing, the accurate stuff. And then what RS is doing with the direct lineage pieces, or RS and CFO also, you're getting stuff cast directly off screen use assets, which is insane. And especially with the value that those assets hold now, that's insane that someone will let you even like hold it, let alone mold it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And then the modeling, like right now, everything is so much more accessible than it used to be. And the quality, I'm sure you went to the Mandalorian experience at Celebration Anaheim where they had all those costumes on display.
Crazy good.
Mind-blowing, the quality, the attention to detail. Like everybody that, at that point, I hadn't really talked to anybody that worked on the shows, but when you talk to those folks, they're like us. They're total nerds. They might not have gone down the rabbit hole as deep as us, but they know their stuff and they want to get it right. And it shows in those costumes. The new costumes from the shows and from the new movies are phenomenal. And the quality of them is, when you see them and handle a real prop from one of those things, it's just next level. I mean, even there's just a difference. I don't know how to put it, between like even the best fan made and then something from production. There's just something different. I don't know.
If you have listened to our episode with Geo Kendall, your name came up, and for a very specific reason. One, because you caught the eye of Geo because you started sharing information that you knew and said, here's my references to back it up in case you want this information, if it's helpful for the team. Now, at this point, Star Wars remains one of the most dedicated fandoms, not only in just like, I would say we're not as, at least from my perspective, we've got people who have opinions about the first time a comic book character showed up compared to this. But in terms of a dedicated fandom to reproducing, researching, building costumes of Star Wars in literally every level of importance, background characters, whatever, Star Wars continues to remain, I think, the most dedicated fandom of costumers specifically, because that fandom has also been repaid a little bit in opportunities of either access to archives or say, would you like to get involved? Or some people have been pulled out of the fandom to then work on productions. And in this particular case, you're sharing information that you have learned based on your research with costume designer Geo Kendall, who works, and please listen to her episode because we could have talked for hours. But most importantly, you were sharing information with her to better help their team represent the fandom that we are all a part of, including her team at the time. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up in The Mandalorian and Grogu as a background character, because this is an awesome story and I want to know everything.
Well, I'm going to go back to sidetrack a little. I'm going to go back to first how I got in contact with Geo. Basically, like I said, I like to go to the source of anybody that's handled it. I try and find out, go right to them. I don't look at pictures. So I was trying to figure out a certain color gray used on the Rogue One TIE helmets. And I would go to IMDb, look up people who worked on it, find their social media, send them a message. Hey, I'm a crazy person. What color gray is this? So I would do that. And it was a little more involved in that. But anyway, I noticed that in one of the episodes of The Mandalorian, the season finale on season 2, they used the Rogue One TIE helmets in one scene. And they were definitely the Rogue One helmets. And I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. They're here. So then I looked up who worked on that show, and Geo was listed. I found her social media and I sent her a message. Hey, what color is this thing on the TIE helmet? If you know, that would be awesome, blah, blah, blah. And she got the message. And this is hilarious. And so she got the message and was like, I wonder what color those things are. That is weird. And apparently, the way she told me, there was a helmet missing. They could not find that was about to hold up production. And in my mind, it's Filoni's X-Wing helmet. I don't know if I invented that, but you'll have to ask Geo.
Sure.
But in my mind, they could not find a helmet, and it was about to mess up production if they couldn't find this helmet. So Geo went back to just see, like, hey, I wonder what color this gray is that this guy's asking about? And right next to the TIE helmet was the helmet that was missing.
Whoa.
So she got to save the day, and because of that, she messaged me back, and she's like, "Here's what happened. What what can I do for you?" So that's how we connected, and we've become really good friends since. And as far as leading up to the Mandalorian and Grogu, for Ahsoka, there wasn't really an opportunity to do anything. But once the movie was filming, which was fortuitous because it is the last production that filmed here. All production's gone overseas now. So
Right.
Basically, Gio just said, this is the casting agency that's casting the movie. That's the information I got. She didn't get me the gig. I got that. So it was like, create a profile on there and hope for the best. So I went there, created a profile, and then just like anyone else that had a profile on there, they hit me up. Hey, are you available these dates for, Theodore? That was the production name. Can you work Theodore? That's all I didn't know anything about it. And even now I'm still on that casting agency, and I'll see stuff and it'll be like, oh, that is actually Fallout, or this is actually Romeo and Michelle,
Sure. Right.
But anyway, so basically they asked, are you available? And of course I'm available. Sure. I'll quit my job. What are you talking about?
I'll jump out of a moving vehicle. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So first it's a time check. Like, are you available these dates? And then it was, okay, are you available for a fitting on this day? And then it was like, okay, you're in. So then basically, that's how I got the part, basically. And then from there was a costume fitting and it's all very cloak and dagger, where it's, we're going to message you the location the night before. It's in this city, it's in El Segundo, and your fitting's at 11, and you'll get the details that night. And then that night you get a password protected email that gives you the address and where to go and what to do and all that kind of stuff. So
this is 11 o'clock at night.
No, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right. I was
11 o'clock in the morning.
This is cool.
No, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go through the whole process right now if you want to hear it. Like the whole.
I do. Because I'm taking notes. I'm like, all right, El Segundo. I got to get to El Segundo.
It's gone now, so I can talk about it.
Sure.
But yeah, you show up there and they buzz you in, and you go back for your fitting. And Gio actually didn't do my fitting. Frederick Faith did, and
Frederick's awesome.
Yeah, he's so great. And then another girl whose name I don't remember. They did my fitting, and it was crazy because they kept putting things on me, and then Mary, the costume supervisor, would come down and go, no, and then just walk away. And it was like, okay. So most fittings seem to take about an hour. I was there for 4.5 hours. Like it was, which I'm not complaining. It was awesome because I got to see, I got to see everything, and there's tables of stormtrooper armor and racks of flight suits, and insane. Baker's racks of X-wing helmets, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so it was just nonstop. Like they put something on me, no, they put something on me, no, and then finally Frederick was like, okay, let me go pull something, and he brings out, and it was like this Jawa robe. And then these like a giant Jawa. I think my size. They have costumes of all sizes, but I think it might have been making it a little difficult because I'm so big. But anyway, they come back with a Jawa robe, like a neck scarf, these big, crazy, clunky, heavy boots, and then this bandolier. And when Frederick brings it to me, he's like, "I think this is from Rogue One." I was like, "Ooh, cool! I love Rogue One. It's my favorite one." So I put that on, and then I'm sure you've seen the movie now. A lot of people had these like little driving caps with little lights in the side.
Yeah.
They were putting them on everybody. So they put me in the costume, and they put a hat on me. And Mary came down and was like, "Yeah, but no hat." Done. So then they took the hat off, and then they take pictures of you like around. Yeah. All side. There it is. They take pictures around, your costume photos. So, and I'm going to be honest, when I got my costume, I was like, I do not like this costume. I am in a dress. I'm wearing a dress. It's not awesome. So, but whatever, it's Star Wars. So that's fine. So then once your costume's done, you go about your merry way. And then when filming happens, same thing. It's like password protected like super secret. And then you get your call time. Like you need to be on set at 4 a.m. at this address. So you were there at 4 a.m. at that address.
So you get sent to Huntington Beach, or you're somewhere?
No. It was in downtown LA, like right by the
Okay.
6th Street Bridge, kind of big, just a warehouse in LA. And basically they have you park somewhere else, and then they shuttle bus you over to where the thing is. And then you go in a big tent, and your costume is all there on a hanger with your picture and your name, and all your stuff's there, and they help you get dressed. And then you go to hair and makeup, which is funny because I walked into hair and makeup and they're like, "You're fine." They didn't do anything. Did nothing. So I was like, okay.
It's like, what do you try to say?
Yeah. They're like, I was like, okay, cool. I'm fine. So, and then you just wait. So they go into holding. I don't know, if people know what being an extra in a film.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, you go into the big tent, the waiting tent, and when you first get there, they put your phone in one of those bags.
Yeah.
Those spare day bags, so you can't take pictures or anything.
Right.
And there's a phone tent, like one break time. If you want to go use your phone, you have to go in this closed off tent with security in there, and they let you use your phone. And then they have to put it back in the bag. You have to go, so nobody sneaks any pictures.
Sure.
Which I would have loved to have sneaked a picture, but I was a good boy and I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought about it. There was an opportunity where I could have gone. I went into the bathroom with my cell phone. And I was like, "Oh, I could do it right now." And I was like,
nice. Yeah,
but if I get busted, it's not worth getting kicked off a Star Wars.
Yeah, 100%.
So and then when they called us out, they noticed that I had tattoos, and they're like, "Oh, if they make you reach for something, we can't have that. Go back to hair and makeup." So I went back to hair and makeup, and they completely covered my sleeves with makeup. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
How fast did that take? Or how long was that?
10, 15 minutes. The guy was really good. Yeah, it was really good.
It on.
It was crazy, and it took a while to come off too. When I came home, my kids were like, "What is happening?" It's like those videos. It's like those videos you see where the dad shaves the beard and the baby's like, and it was like that. It was that kind of deal.
Was it just the one day on set?
No, I was on for a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So it was, and then when they bring you into that set, it's like, okay, they have everybody come stand out kind of in groups, and they kind of figure out where they want you and what they're shooting. So then they bring you into the set. And when I first walked on the set, look at it. It's amazing. Like it's this long street set that's maybe the length of a football field, and then a little longer probably, and then big, those big volume screens on either side, making it look like it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
Amazing.
But the detail on the set was just insane. Like it looked so good. The set builders were just, my friend Greg is one of the set builders, and those guys just did like a phenomenal job. It looks great.
How long does that take? How long did he, I don't know if he's allowed to say, but like how long was that process of setting up this one extra location?
I have no idea. No idea. But it looked incredible. Like so good, so real. And when you walk on there, you're like, oh my God, I'm in a Star Wars movie. I'm in Star Wars. Like, everything's in Erebush, and it's like,
yeah, sure.
And you're seeing cool. Like they had the little scooters from Book of Boba Fett had been repainted and were parked around.
Oh, no kidding, really?
Yeah. You can kind of see them.
Wow.
Yeah. The scooters, and there's a couple of people riding down the street in one scene. But
that's wild.
Yeah, and that there's a speeder there, and then when we did the first things we shot were just basically walking down the street kind of a thing, and early on I got pulled to like, okay, when Mando passes, you count to 3 and then follow him. Like, I got pulled to do that. I was in, if you go back to that one photo with, there were 3 of us in what they call a pod. They picked 3 of us out. I think go back one more maybe. No, it was there. Anyway, it's a picture of me standing with 3 folks, kind of in the corner. I'm kind of right here. So it was basically this girl and this guy. We were a pod, and the girl they gave us a backstory. They said they wanted the place to feel grittier, to feel like a grittier town. So she's the space bookie. He owes you guys money, and you're her enforcer boyfriend. So
why not?
Stand here and act. They placed us in one spot, the spot that I actually show up on screen, like in that corner. That's what we're doing. Like that's
wild.
That's our scene. So we got to do that.
And with this being out on Disney Plus, for people who want to search for this is Shikari outside of, this is the establishing shots of whenever Mando arrives on Shikari outside of the arena. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much when he first arrives and he walks out of the alley onto the street. If you look at the bottom right corner, there I am. Ta-da! And so that's my less than 15 minutes of fame. And actually, there's another shot later on where there's a whole group of people. We were supposed to be like going on a train, and like I managed to pick myself out looking at worst case screen caps. You'll never be able to see me if you're like in the movie.
That's awesome.
But just the fact that after we did it, and this was 2 years ago, so I had to keep my mouth shut for over 2 years.
True.
So it was like, and you don't know, like I could end up on the cutting room floor. How many times does that happen? You know, so
100%.
To have it come out and to be able to spot myself and to be able to be in it, easily spot myself was, I mean, it's a dream come true. And, you know, I went and saw A New Hope with my dad when I was 6. I took my 6-year-old to see Mandalorian and Grogu that I was in, and it was his first Star Wars movie in the theater, and he loved it. He was like,
cool.
"Oh my god,
that's great!"
So, I mean, it was a full circle moment. And so like,
that's so cool.
Like, I mean, it's just I'm like get chills still talking about it. It's kind of, I mean, it's so nerdy, and people I'm sure are sick of seeing me post pictures of me and my little Chawa outfit.
Never.
You know, like, I mean, it was once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah. You know, Jay, one of the coolest things from, you know, somebody from the outside following your story about this. Well, first of all, everything is the coolest thing about it. But one of the coolest things is that you went ahead and took pains to recreate your own character's costume.
Yeah,
now, how in the heck did you do that?
I mean, it's basically 4 parts, so it wasn't that difficult.
Sure.
But like I said, you weren't allowed to do photos on set, but they didn't say anything about taking extensive notes. So while I was on set in my little notebook, they're up on the screen right now for those watching at home. Mm-hmm. I wrote down as much information as I could. I, you know, tried to measure everything that I could. I wrote down all kinds of information about my costume so that later on I could build it if I wanted to, and, you know, details about it. And I even knew the planet's name. I knew we were on a new planet called Shikari. So, you know, I wrote all that down. And then later on, you know, after filming, I started looking for those bandoliers that I wore, because he said, "Oh, it's in Rogue One," and it's all over. It's all over Rogue One. Like the scout guy wears it, this other guy wears it, and then I actually
partisans.
Yeah, it's a partisan thing, and I actually found the exact one that I wore. The guy in the red, this guy, that's the exact one that I wore right there.
Awesome.
I screen matched it because I know that little fold right there, and there was the little buckle thing was not attached, so I can spot it. That's the exact one that I wore. So it was kind of cool to like, oh yeah, that's the one. So,
Jay, is this bandolier? Is this military surplus? It looks similar to a Tuscan bandolier, right? Is that?
It's like the
Czech,
the 1901, I think it's called.
Oh, okay.
It's like the standard Jawa one, I think.
Or Jawa, rather. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the standard one. And actually, this thing shows up in Book of Boba Fett too. Some of the Tuscans wear it. Like, it's a all-purpose bandolier. So,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, so I basically bought 2 of those bandoliers, made the straps. There was a guy on the RPF whose name I didn't write down, unfortunately, but he did a 3D model of that piece for his guy. He built the Biker Scout partisan, and he 3D modeled the little greebly thing there. And it was pretty close. There were a few things he got wrong that you wouldn't know unless you wore it. So, but I mean, his was really close. So I just used his model. Sweet. He gave it to me. So I printed that out. And then, you know, I just made the bandolier. That was really, just had to make the bandolier. And then I found a monk's robe on Etsy and a neck scarf on Etsy. And the boots, I had written down that they were Boggs, you know, like neoprene and rubber sort of farm boots, I think they're called, and they were brown with, you know, they had painted them brown and put like some webbing around the top and changed them up a little bit. So I mean, that was it. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna build my costume.
That's so cool. So, like, Jay, when you get on set, are they worried about super fans? Like, you know what I mean? Are they worried that, like, if you start like asking too many questions? Because I remember Paul Lee's story about, you know, going, hey, you know, I'm kind of into this stuff. And they were like, well, relax. We have a job to do and you have a job to do. And your job right now is acting, not being, not being a costumer. But he was like offering some advice of like how these parts were, because in some regards, as Gio will say, she happens to be a mega fan. Frederick happens to be a mega fan, but it is not uncommon for someone to come in and go, I'm looking at these, I'm looking at the pieces. That's what it looks like to me. I'm not going down the rabbit hole of, or in this particular case, the Exegorth hole of how. Right, exactly. But for some people, they're not going to sit here and go, oh, well, this part is wrong. The stitching is wrong. This isn't right. This, because like sometimes we're just trying to hit a deadline, and that, and so like when you get on set and you kind of let them know that like you are on the level.
I didn't let anybody know I was on the level. I was just there to do a job and try and be nice to everybody and stay out of the way. And I mean, it worked. Like I said, John pulled me and those other 3 folks to do a special scene, but I didn't. And plus, it wasn't like there were any TIE pilots around there that I could nitpick to the costume designer. So it was, it was pretty. There weren't many legacy characters in that scene, so I didn't have anything to nitpick. But yeah, I mean. When I talked to some folks in the holding area, there were some super fans there that were like, I can't believe I'm on a Star Wars movie. Like everybody, had that sort of like pinch me kind of thing going on, because it's a lot of people had no idea what they were doing until they got to their costume fitting and saw the stormtroopers on the table
and then said, yes, I made it 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, it's surreal. It's like got to be one of the best experiences of my entire life. And
man,
it was so cool to. I've done like acting and I've done commercials and I've done stuff, and it's whatever, but nothing important. You haven't seen me, but just to do this was like. I remember they called me after one of the days on set, and they're like, "We gave you the wrong paper. You have to fill out a paper when you first show up for your pay, just with your information, so they pay you." And the PA called me on my way home, was like, "We gave you the wrong. We gave you a union voucher when you're not. I'm not union. I'm SAG eligible, but I don't do it, so I didn't join. Sure. But we gave you the SAG paperwork, and I was like, okay. They're like, do we have your permission to change it? I was like, yeah, sure. She's like, well, we want to make sure you get paid. I was like, I don't care if I get paid.
Right. Yeah,
keep it. It was like, I don't care at all. It was like $200. Who cares? So, but just the experience of doing that and seeing Mandalorian. I've seen a million Mandalorian costumers,
right?
To see the man, it was Brendan Wayne.
Yeah.
Him walk by, and Grogu on set never just like after when the camera does cut, he's alive the entire time he's there.
He's a method actor. He's got to stay in character.
He's waving, he's looking around, he's twitching his little ears. Like it was so cool. Like so, and it's like you forget because you're like looking at him, and it's like it was just incredible. And they hide the puppeteers really well.
Oh,
there were a few things on set that, like, there was a guy in one of the food courts that had a bunch of tentacles on his face, named Davy Jonesy, and they were moving around. And there was one scene where I was in a coffee shop and had to walk out, and the controller was back there and that you never see him on screen, but it was so cool. Like it's this big like Davy Jones thing. It was just,
and they were dressing him. Oh, it was probably a Blutonian. The character Oga from Oga's Cantina at Disneyland. But mostly there's one scene where Cassian Andor wakes up.
Oh, I know what you mean. Where he's it could have been that.
And also the other Blutonian is seen in Rogue One when Jyn Erso is on Wabani, and she looks
when he's in the jail. Right?
Yes, and in the transport before she gets broken out. Right. She looks over, and that one creature.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was super cool to see that. There were some creatures in that scene that, like, I don't think you really can spot too easily, but it was just cool to see, like, that. Like, it's just cool to see all that going on
Shikari, particularly too. And I can't wait to rewatch it. I mean, I'm super excited for it. But it didn't seem like there were that many like aliens. Did you see a lot of any, Star Wars aliens when you were there in terms of background?
There was that one that we just talked about, the Blutonian.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's that guy. And then actually, in that scene that I was talking about, where I know I sent a picture where it's like the whole group of us walking into the thing. There was one guy, and he's in Rogue One too, with like a big giant head and two red eyes. He looks kind of like a giant weird Jawa thing. He's like really
Okay.
boxy. So there was that, and then there was a droid that was like working on a spit with meat, but there weren't that many aliens. It was the guy who's in my pod was painted blue with gills on his face and stuff. So he was an alien, but he didn't. I mean, you barely see us, so it's like it didn't. I don't think it transferred. But there were a few folks that had like their faces painted different colors with stuff, you know. But with how dark the scene is and how fast it goes by, I don't think it really shows up as well as it was. But it wasn't a lot.
I wonder if it was a mythrol, that species, which, again, if you're a lore person, the mythrol was Horatio Sands's character in...
It was similar.
Okay.
It was very similar. Yeah. He was great. He was a retired postman that just does this for fun. So,
imagine that. You're just getting pulled in every week and you're like, what is it this week? Oh, it's Blade Runner. Okay, that's
he was telling me, like, I was on 911 and he's in Creed and all this other stuff. So it was really, I was like, man, that's what I'm going to do when I retire. I'm just going to go, because all the time I see stuff posted and I can't do it because it's like something's going on, or, you know.
Sure. Yeah. And also, like, you know, you've I think the one part that people forget is like, yeah, sure, Hollywood is always, and I mean this in absolute no disrespect, Jay, Hollywood, we always think of Hollywood as like these young, beautiful people. But like, if you're a set background person, like everything is open. They need real people in the background.
When I see the call, you know, I look at the casting agency site where they ask for people, and it's all types, all ages. And I think, honestly, that's why I got pulled out to be more featured, was because I looked different, because my costume looked different. Like I said, when I first got the costume, I was like, eh. And then when I got to set, I was like, oh, like I look completely different than everyone else. There was a very much a Shikari style, sort of like Barracks had a style.
Sure.
It was very much a Shikari style, and I was decidedly not a Shikari style costume. So I think that kind of helped, you know. So they need all types to be in these movies for sure. So, I mean, there were all types in background. There were all types in that scene. You know, it wasn't just like handsome Hollywood people.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it can't all be like me, but it's okay.
That's
Jay,
awesome.
one more thing on Mando and Grogu. I know you said that there were no TIE. I mean, obviously there were no TIE pilots in the film, but there was one TIE helmet. Can you tell us about that one?
Oh, that one. That one was not on set, but we'll segue into that. That was during Ahsoka. They were they were making the Ahsoka TIE, which was, you know, the one with the red on it. And I knew they had those Rogue One helmets there. And Gio had asked me for some, I had some compads they needed for that. So Shauna got some compads from me for that show.
Whoa, hold on. Let's not gloss over that. So you just had some extra parts, and they ended up being screen use parts.
Yeah, it was like one of those. Gio was like, do you have any compads? I said, yes. Can you bring them here tomorrow? Yes. So that was like basically, and they were like, she was like, what do you want for him? I was like, nothing, just here. No, I have to buy them. So Shauna bought them for accounting or whatever. But anyway, so during Ahsoka, it was like, oh, okay, are these for TIE pilots? So like, you know, she can't really say, but
sure.
You know, we were talking, and, you know, it turned out that they were using a Rogue One TIE helmet for this Ahsoka helmet. And they're about to, and it's like, which one are you using? What's it look like? Does, you know, oh, it's, you know, got the gray on it. I was like, does it have the gray stripes on the front? Like, I think so. I'm like, oh boy, that one is the hero. Don't touch that, please. And they're like, what do you mean? So I sent, in Rogue One, they made 6 TIE helmets. And then there's 2 hero, basically, one with the teardrop and then one with a little number on the thing. And all the others are the same. But anyway, the one with the teardrops has shown up, like they reuse that cockpit footage all the time.
Andor,
Rogue One, Andor, Mando, that helmet shows up all the time.
Yeah.
So when Gia said, yeah, we're going to redo one of the Rogue One TIE helmets, and when I found out it had the stripes on, I was like, I asked her a few tells. I was like, does it have on that helmet? There's a little nick of white paint missing by the little bar at the top, that you exactly right there,
Here we
that
go.
you can screen match it through, Mandalorian. It was flipped in one scene of the Mandalorian, and it's been in Rogue One. And I said, like, look at that helmet, and does it have this chip? And she's like, it does. I was like, okay, you cannot touch that helmet. That is the hero helmet. That's the hero helmet. That's
Oh
the
my
hero.
gosh. Tell Judah to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Judah, put down your paint, step away from the helmet. And then, she showed it to Shauna and was like, we can't mess with this one. This one's too important. So they pulled that one out, labeled it, put it in a bag, put it away. It's safe. It's not going, it's in its screen use condition to this day with no red paint on it. They ended up painting 2 Rogue One helmets with the red on it. So there's 2 less screen used Rogue One helmets in Rogue One condition. So now there's 4. So
it's faster at that point to repaint a helmet versus at this point you could have run over.
Yeah, I mean, all my friends that work on stuff are like, they're like, I would have given them this, I would have given them that, and then production, they want to do their own thing, and they want to, they don't necessarily want to reach out when they don't have to, which I get. So
Yep.
they basically have, these TIE helmets sitting there when they were doing stuff. I guess they shipped a ton of the Rogue One costumes over to here to be used on the shows, and they're just inventory,
Right.
That's what it is. I mean, that's the Andor TIE helmet came about because what I had heard is that they went to we have a TIE helmet in stock, let's go get it, and they pulled it out and it was first order.
Oh, interesting.
And they were like, oh no, we can't use this, so they had to quickly 3D print a helmet and then cast it, which is what they did. So
interesting.
Because they have it's off of a Rogue One scan, but Monkey changed a little bit. But you can tell it's a Rogue One with a couple things changed. So they printed 1, cast it, they cast 3, and then that was it. There's a whole new helmet. So and same
that process.
Yeah, and I mean, even with like the test pilot, the season 2 test, that's a cool costume. But I remember when I first had heard about it, I talked to people that work on production and stuff, and basically, I was like trying to get some details on it, and they're like, well, about like, hey, are we going to have a new costume? Are we going to get to do this, that? And they're like, well, he never puts on the helmet. It's like, what? He's like, he just carries it and puts it down. It's like, really? He's like, yeah. So it's like, oh no, I wonder what that's going to do for as far as it being a costume. But there's only one of those. There's one Andor TIE helmet. They only made that one. It's like a chopped up Death Trooper with doodads added on it, which is crazy.
And it's got the tubes, and in that one particular case, it sounds like it was just used for filming and then put on display for the premiere, I think, or at least the promotional marketing tour.
Yeah, and it fell out of the mannequin's hand and put a big dink in the.
I was there that night. I saw it. It was in the hand of the mannequin, and then about 20 minutes later, I walked by again, and it was at its feet. And I'm like, oh no! And then there was a fresh dent in the mohawk. But the neat thing was that when it was repositioned, then you could get some good. I got some good photographs of it where you could see the Death Trooper snout, where it kind of has those ridges that are, and you can see it behind in the gaps in the teeth, and it sort of looks like like the respirator that you see on the front of a scout or a shore trooper, and you can see like, wow, they just put a new face on top of a Death Trooper, and it makes sense because the armor on it is also based on a Death Trooper, so you can see it's like
and I think they wanted a smaller helmet for Diego's size was part of it too. They didn't want to use like a TIE helmet to make him look super bobbleheady, so that helmet is a little slimmer, but he ends up never putting it on, so it doesn't even matter really. But I mean, it was just cool that scene was just, come on.
I have a feeling we're going to see quite a few Sidear test pilots at Star Wars Celebration coming up in LA. It seems like it's been a really popular kit for people. It's a great looking kit.
It is a really cool looking kit, and it's something new too. You get a little color splashed in there, and it's a really cool kit. We tried at the Legion level, we tried to get it approved without a helmet. We tried to get like stations where it was like just the jumpsuit open, like he was, when he was on the planet with the MyPie Brigade, those knuckleheads. And then then just the armor with no helmet and then helmeted. And then, basically they said, no, you can just do the helmeted one. So, okay. So that's the way that CRL came about. And that's one of the CRLs I wrote. I wrote a few of them that are on there now. So, but that's definitely a cool costume. But again, that goes back to getting colors right, and how do you know what's right and how do you know what's wrong, and it's how does it appear on screen and how does it look in person, and that was one of those tricky ones, because the red up here was a sort of a hard thing to figure out for a lot of folks, but
yeah, was it orange? Was it red? What saturation of red? Was it dark red? Was it bright red? That was, and then it was very cool lighting in there. It was almost like fluorescent lighting in the proto lab. And so I remember just like people, because we saw it at Celebration for the first time.
Right.
And I remember looking at it and being like, man, people are going to go crazy for this costume, because it's, anytime you see a jumpsuit in Star Wars, you're like, that's cool. But this one had just details that we weren't used to seeing. And in the same way that like us as scouts seeing scout armor on screen for the first time in Mandalorian season 5, season 1, which the story about that of, Frank Hippolito saying who can get us the scouts
Walt.
the fastest, and then Walt does the chest, and they use the EFX helmet, and then just straight up using a TIE pilot undersuit, which was new. And, the lore helps with saying, oh, this is a remnant. These guys are scraping resources together. Okay, cool. We get all that. But it was just interesting to finally see, because Michael Wilkinson, season 2 of Andor, like, holy cow, man, like everything was next
all the
level.
costumes. Yeah, the costumes.
Truly.
Were just, everything about that show. Like, I'm a huge Andor fan, which doesn't mean I like the Acolyte. I like, but I'm not like one of those guys. Those guys are exhausting. But I mean, Andor is that's definitely my favorite. And if it's not yours, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
incredible.
I recently rewatched the new trilogy, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. I hadn't seen those since then. I enjoyed all of them. I was one of those jerks that, like, every time I was like, what's the worst Star Wars movie? Last Jedi. Like, I was like one of those douchebags. So, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rewatch this. Maybe there's I hate to send people away from this podcast with other podcasts, but there's a podcast called Going Rogue. I don't know if you've heard it.
Jason loves this. This show.
Well, thanks to Jay for that. So he turned me on to it. Yeah.
And it's great. It really, really goes in depth with a lot of the making of some of these movies. And they did a series on making, Last Jedi. And I was like, maybe I'll give it another shot. And I gave it another shot. And I get it now. I totally get it. So,
oh man,
I apologize. I was wrong.
This is growth right here on Armor Party. Look at you,
Jay. Exactly. I was wrong. It's a fine film. Yeah. And of course, there's stuff. I haven't watched Book of Boba Fett again, but it might happen. So,
and there's, I will say, there's a lot of stuff that and we've talked about this on Thank the Maker. When you look at the concept of Book of Boba Fett, sure, of course, like, given that there were a lot of complications at the time, that was a very hard production to make. When the show's getting shut down every other week, we were like, what do we do? We're in COVID. People are burned out. They're supposed to be like, hey guys, we need to focus. And people are like, are we going to be alive in 4 weeks? A Rancor walking through the town, destroying stuff, Godzilla style, with Boba Fett riding it. I'm like, actually, let me come around to this. That is awesome.
Yeah, 12-year-old me was like,
that's the stuff we need in Star Wars, because like, and it is, I'm with you on that, because like there were definitely things about, some of these movies that, like, with perspective, with time, and after the initial shock wears off of how I feel about things, and how we all feel about certain things, where, like, there is a reason that we come back to wanting to rebuild and investigate costumes and learn details about things that makes us really like Star Wars is special in that way. And all those different Star Wars is for people who are like, oh, I don't like the sequel trilogies. The production design in the sequel trilogy movies is awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, even if you don't like the film, you gotta, even if you don't like the new shows, you got to appreciate the quality and the dedication, the details, and I mean, any of the costumes, you pick any of them and make them, and they're awesome. That's what's so great about, I think, the whole Star Wars universe, is that you can pick Wilbur Hood, or you can pick the hardest Boba Fett version in the whole wide world, and everybody's going to be like, "Cool, come on in." Like it's awesome.
ESB, but I appreciate that you're like whatever it is. But it's
Is
definitely
ESP
Empire. Yeah,
is that the hardest Fett to do?
it's the hardest one because there's the least amount of references for it, and
That's a rabbit hole I have yet to go down.
And I will, that was one. That's kind of my. It's sitting in the basement. It's trimmed. It is my costume that there's parts of it that I look at and I go, not this year, but next year. And I've said that for about 4 years since COVID. But there is a part of it of going I appreciate this fandom so much because the passion for this fandom and the dedication that keeps it going of making new things and our excitement for making things. I am so excited to go to Celebration to connect with so many different people. Jay, will you be at Celebration?
Yes, I don't have tickets yet because I snoozed on that, but I'll get in somehow. I'm sure there'll be some available. But yeah, I'll definitely be there. And that's the Celebration is about, the people that you know and meet, and you get to meet your internet friends in person. And it's the other stuff is so for me anyway, is so secondary.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, the entire Celebration is awesome, but the best part is the people, without a doubt. And I think it's the best part of the whole fandom, and it's the best part of costuming is the people that you meet along the way, the friends you make. I've had friends that I've known for 20 plus years, all because, we both nerded out on our Vader's belt box knobs.
Yeah.
Sure. They are, by the way. But, going to those events is so fun because of people, and you get to see the costumes. And I mean, there was at London, there was somebody that was, and you'll know the name of it immediately. You're gonna be like, oh, it's a sassafras. It's the bug guys from the prequel trilogy. The bug looking costume. He looks like a dragonfly kind of.
Yeah. It was Marietta did the Geonosian.
Okay. I figured it was one of them because it was like a phenomenal costume. But you see people that like pull something like that and make it real. And that's the other thing that's crazy is like they'll come up with BB-8 who's like pushed like a wheelbarrow, and then somebody will figure out how to make it work. Like it's crazy. Like they build these crazy droids. It's just insane.
Hey Jay, since we're talking about droids, I want to know if we can talk about a very specific R1 droid that you may know about.
Oh, Bard.
Yeah. So I just as a little peek behind the curtain, earlier, I guess it was yesterday, I was like, Jay, if you have any photos you want to send over, we'll throw them up. And, I got the stuff that I was expecting from you. But then you sent me a picture of Bard.
Yes. Hey, Bard.
And I'm like, well, what the heck do you have to do with Bard? This is so interesting.
So random.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Bard is a full-size R1 droid that's at Galaxy's Edge, specifically in Disneyland. He was made as a prop to help introduce and sort of move along the story of their projection mapping and fireworks show that happens at Galaxy's Edge. And then they created a whole story around it. He's like the droid of a long since past, maybe Force adjacent person called the Lore Weaver, et cetera, et cetera. But it's brand new lore. Our good friend Nick Tierce is an absolute maniac for Bard. He's made patches, merchandise. He's made an entire little booklet that he passes out to people who are like, who the hell is Bard? He's like, I'm going to let you know everything that I know about Bard. So
I gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he would love to hear. So what was your relationship with Bard?
I was between jobs a while ago, like right now, and I have a friend who has a shop that does a lot of work for Disneyland. I'm going to leave names out because I don't want them to get in trouble for NDAs or anything.
Yeah,
but basically, I was available, and they had lost somebody on the project, and were like, "Hey, are you available to come for 3 weeks and work on this project?" And it was like, of course. So I got to go over to that shop and work on Bard. I made that little smokestack thing. I had to rig up the fittings and everything. There's a smoke machine at his feet that you don't see. That little like elbow that comes out of his side right there, shoots smoke out. You know,
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah. And then inside his head is a bunch of Mike Sena, who's like the the robot guy for Lucasfilm. He came over.
100%.
And, yeah, he did the electronics, so his little lights would work and he would spin around and all that stuff. So you had to work on him, and then we had to go install it over a couple nights at Disneyland. Like we had to be at Disney, like call time was like 2 a.m. Like we had to like bring him in, and then they brought out a giant crane and put him up there, and then we had to bolt him down and get his battery. We had to install him basically. So we got to do that too. So that's my experience with our friend Bard there.
That's amazing.
Which is funny. Like when I first saw him, I was just like, oh, he's cool looking. I didn't even realize that in A New Hope he's there with the sandcrawler. This is how bad I am at some of this stuff. Like I didn't realize like the sandcrawlers, like there's a Bard or Bard looking droid. There's one of those droids, whatever number it is, like there comes from New Hope. So I didn't even notice that until after he was finished.
Yeah, and having that sort of access, whenever nobody's there, you're on that sort of that perch. That's if you're anybody that's been to Galaxy's Edge, whenever you're looking at the Falcon up off to the right, there's sort of a platform up there that you normally wouldn't be able to get to. So I guess you got to have a view that people don't normally have.
To see the Falcon from that vantage point with no one in the park, like totally, you know what I mean? Like, and plus they pipe in sounds, like spaceships going by there's like sounds. And when there's nobody at the park, you really hear them. Like, I don't even know if you notice them when you're there, but there's a lot of sounds being piped in there to sort of immerse you in.
Is it running on a loop? Like it's 3 in the morning and you hear like,
yeah, it runs on a loop, but it's not like an annoying, like it's pretty, it repeats after a long time. Yeah. But there's a lot of noises like that you don't even realize you're hearing when you're there.
But so funny.
But I think it like helps you be in.
Oh, the sound design is incredible at Galaxy.
Yeah. It's just so cool. So, we got to be up there. I mean, I got to see it's ruined now because I seen behind the curtain, but it was so pretty.
So were there any sort of like special considerations that you had to do with building a piece like this that needs to withstand the elements?
Yeah.
I mean, for as much weather that we don't have here in Southern California, it's still got to be in sun and rain sometimes and everything.
Yeah, it has to last for at least 10 years. Everything on it has to last for 10 years was the directive. So I'll see you in 10 years. We'll see if he's still there.
Bard 2.
Bard 2. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my entire droid experience right there. So that was kind of fun, super fun to get to do that and get to play in that sandbox. At that point, that was like, wow, I'm in Star Wars. That was before Mandalorian and Grogu. So now that's like Galaxy's
old hat.
That's for kids. Oh my gosh, Jay, what an experience! What a journey for you in regards of seeing A New Hope in the theaters as a 6-year-old, and look at you now, man. I mean, it's cool. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Like I said, it's a kid. It's a kid's dream come true. What else can I say? It was, and I mean, like seeing it with my dad and then seeing it with my son, like at the same age, was just. And then there I am. Hey, that's
the dream.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And I hope productions come back over here eventually. So maybe there'll be an opportunity to sneak around in the back. Maybe my character will make a reappearance.
That would be awesome.
A friend of mine who does some work for the company asked like about a Star Wars name for me, because I was like, ask him about a Star Wars name for me. I need a Star Wars name. And they said like, what's his name? And they told him, that's Jay Skwarlo. He's like, just spell it weird. That's better than anything I could come up with. So that's fine. Which I was like, that's not right. And then I found out that Johnny Coin is Johnny Coin. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I mean, dude,
exactly.
Skwarlo Jay is a great Star Wars name.
I just JAE and mess it around. So so that'll be a Star Wars name. Yeah, exactly. On the action figure package. Yeah.
Hey Jay, before we wrap it up here, can we talk about bikes real quick?
Yeah, I love bikes.
Had to sneak it in, didn't you?
I know. Well, I mean, I'm a bike guy too. I grew up working in bike shops. I'd never. Yeah. So
me too.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, from 94 until about 2010. But yeah, man. I mean, I thought I was going to be a World Cup mountain bike mechanic there for a while, but career got in the way. But anyway, you sent over some old photos here, and it looks like you were doing some flatland freestyle BMX.
Yeah, I mean the '80s. My first job ever was in a bike shop. So I mean, I think that's where I learned a lot of fabrication and like working with my hands and stuff. But I mean, then I got heavily into freestyle, flatland freestyle. I rode for General Bicycles for a little while, doing shows and that kind of stuff. And then once I got out of that, I started doing mountain bike trials, observed trials. But I rode for Mongoose for a little bit, and then I rode for Trek Bicycles. We had a little van. We did tours all around the East Coast on the factory team.
Wow! And you did the demos. That's cool.
Yeah. And then that's kind of where my love for like antique bikes come from. A lot of I like the big balloon tire bikes. From like the pre-war bikes, because just the design, and this is like a nice little break from Star Wars when I want to like build something that isn't fact formed. I can grab an old bike from the 1930s. I just love the style of the bikes, just because they were so like artist driven and just weird. They're just really cool looking bikes from back then, and then that kind of led into the rabbit hole of the Pee Wee Herman bike. So yeah, that's kind of what happened next. Was I'd always liked the bike. I love the movie. The movie's great. Have you guys seen the movie?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. Because I talked to a few people that haven't seen it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this is the bike.
It's Tim Burton's favorite, first movie. It's his, it's Tim Burton and Danny Elfman's first movie. Like it starts a whole thing.
100%.
And it's just like everything with the bike. I mean, you guys have been around Star Wars and costuming and that kind of stuff. And every once in a while it'll be like a downer or somebody be, like me, like like Last Jedi sucks. There's like that jerk, that's kind of. But with the Pee Wee bike stuff, it's all just like people are happy and they're excited to see it, and it's just like this big goof, and like all the weirdos come together and they love the Pee Wee Herman stuff. This picture's for trunk or treat for my kid's school. We did a whole Pee Wee's Playhouse thing. You can see Cherry and Zombie in the back there. So, and it's just all the parents are like, "Oh my God," and all the kids are like, "What is that?" But
sure, but for a specific audience,
my kid actually, I showed him the show. It wasn't like you're going to watch it and like it, and if not, get the hell out. But it was, he actually took to it. But yeah, then I kind of went down the rabbit hole on the bike, where it was, people were like, "Oh, this is, the best replica out there." And I looked at it and I'm like, "Oh wait, that's not right. That's not right." I start doing that nonsense. Yeah. And so it turns into a whole thing again, just like with the TIE Pilot, where it's, research, and finding where the original bikes are and that whole thing. And, I was lucky enough to find one of the original bikes and was able to buy it, so it's like, it's just this whole other thing.
So this was an interesting conversation, because you actually acquired one of the bikes from the film.
Mm-hmm.
How many bikes were made for Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
Oddly enough, and I never put it together until just now, 14. Same as Man of TIE Pilots.
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
That is weird. I never put that together until this second.
So how did you come across, was this, you bought at an auction, you bought from another collector? How did that come across in your opportunity to be able to purchase?
Basically, I was, again, going down the rabbit hole in research. And this is where like research is so important for this stuff. And of course, I traced it back to who built the bikes, and then, where did they go? Who did this? Who did the other thing? And it landed at this, they went from the shop that built the bikes, who I actually knew somebody that worked on them, and I'd known him for years.
That's cool.
The shop in Newport Beach built them, and then they went to this prop house in LA to get all the doodads, the saddlebags, and all this crap, and da-da-da. And I was talking to somebody that worked there, and, this is where the bikes were, and we used to do a lot of stuff with the bikes, and yada, yada. So I'm looking on their website, and they have a catalog of stuff you can rent. It's a prop house in LA that you can rent. And it's one of the rare ones that will rent to anybody. A lot of the prop houses, you have to be involved in a production and you have to have all this stuff. This was just, they would rent to anybody. So I'm looking through the catalog, and they have a lot of bikes, and they're all hanging from the ceiling. It's like a large a warehouse type thing, and they're all hanging from the ceiling. And I'm looking, and I see this red and white Schwinn, and I'm like, what? No. Mm-mm. And I like look at it closer, and I'm like, I think that's... So I email him. I'm like, "Hey, is this bike available for rent?" He said, "Yeah." So, okay, I want to rent it for a week. So, okay, give me a couple of days to get it down. I go up to LA. I walk in, and it's like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, holy what!" Like,
That's the
because
bike.
the mix of parts on the bikes is super weird and super unique. No one would think to put these parts together.
Sure.
It's just really weird. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, ugh. And the tanks on the bike, the Schwinn bike should be stamped steel, should be like a stamped steel. All the movie bikes, it's a fiberglass cast.
Okay, for making it lighter and just.
Well, they had one and they had to make copies.
Oh yeah, right. Sure. Okay.
So, and I was like, this kid's got the fiberglass tank on it. Like I was like, oh my god. So I take it home and I'm like losing my mind.
Yeah.
And of course I'm like, how do I keep this? So, part of me is like, I know I'll pull in Indiana Jones and just switcheroo. I'll build one real quick. And then I'm like, well, what if I just tell them I lost it? It got stolen out of my truck.
Right.
Because I talked to my friend who works at one of the prop auction places. He's like, that happens all the time. I was like, oh, but it just didn't feel right. So I ended up I just emailed, hey, would you ever consider selling this bike? I just emailed the prop house and they're like, yeah, sure. Okay, how much? And they shot me a number that was very high for what the bike is. Like it was just a Schwinn. They were like, let's see if this idiot pays this much. And I'm like, okay, like, well, here's my card, like without a minute's hesitation. So I was able to get one of the bikes from the place that built them for the movie, which was insane. And then later on, this even gets weirder. When Pee Wee's Big Adventure came out on 4K, I was watching it again, and there's a scene where he walks into the bike shop.
Yeah.
And I see a bike in the window, and I'm like, that looks oddly familiar. And I go back to the website, and sure enough, it was hanging right next to the bike I bought, like right next to it. So, of course, hey, do you have this blue bike? Would you sell it? So now I have that bike too.
Oh my gosh. So you still have both bikes?
No, I got rid of the Pee Wee bike. Both of them went through Prop Store. Actually, the blue one's going through Prop Store tomorrow. But
oh my gosh.
So I got rid of the one bike for two reasons. One, money is nice. Yeah. And then two, I had, when that one went to auction, I was already in the deals to get another. I found another one from someone who worked. I have another one. So
okay.
There's another one in the works.
So then you put it up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
You make a good amount of money on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a public auction. Anyone can buy it. Is it true that one of the Kardashian buys it?
That's not
Travis Barker. This is a different.
Well, that bike I did the restoration on. I've done the restoration on the stunt bike that the Alamo bought. That one's on display at the Alamo. And then another bike after mine surfaced from someone who worked at the studio. What happened with the bikes is after production, they went into a warehouse. Years later, they're tearing the warehouse down and they're like, clean out the warehouse. So that's all these bikes escape. Okay. So, because they were headed for the dumpster. So one of the guys who had a bike took it to props, brought it to Prop Store. Prop Store had me restore it. So I restored it. And then Kim Kardashian brought it for Courtney, because Courtney was a fan and a friend to Paul before he passed. So she got it, and it's actually hanging. I saw a picture of it. It's like hanging in their house from the ceiling. So it's kind of crazy.
The funny story in the circular of how it connects back to us is our co-host on Thank the Makers, Ryan Keyes, the lead singer of Yellowcard. He was working in Travis's studio, and that's where it's hanging up. And so he walked in and goes, yeah, dude, Travis has this bike hanging up in his studio. It's the bike from Pee Wee Herman. And he goes, yeah, his wife bought it for him as a gift. And also, like, they're big fans, and they just bought it at an auction. And I said, I think I know who put that bike in the auction. So we're in this weird way of like, you're connected to these bikes.
Yeah,
and
it's 6 degrees of Pee Wee. Yeah. If there's a little box on the handlebars with a red and green button, if they open that up, they will find my business card.
Oh my gosh, that's actually hilarious. All right, we might need to follow.
We'll tell Ryan. Yeah.
Well, actually, when it's hanging up there, I saw a picture of it hanging, and there's a little red fin on the back bag, and it's broken off. So I actually contacted Prop Store, and I said, like, hey, if they want me to fix that, I have them. Just let me know. Like, I'll be glad to give them a new one. I'll be glad to install it. So I don't know.
What's crazy is we could maybe make that happen, and that would be hilarious.
I'd be glad to. Those bikes are just an absolute joy to me. They're so fun, and that's why, like, I'm going to segue into this. I'm writing the book on the Pee Wee Herman bikes. So there it is right there. So that's in the works right now. Myself and my co-author, Todd Matchin, he's doing the the layout and a lot of the stuff with making it look fantastic. So
Sure.
Right now, like that's in the works. It should be out by Christmas, I think, and we've been given like
Awesome.
amazing access. That there's going to be stuff in there that no one's seen, like
Oh, that's cool.
which is super cool. Like that's kind of like turned into something really cool where we've
Yeah.
talked to all the folks that worked on the movie. We've talked to everybody involved, and everybody's like super stoked to talk. It's just like such a good thing, you know. It just brings out the joy in people. There was a Pee Wee's Playhouse 40th anniversary thing at the Greek Theater not that long ago that
Yeah.
I built a replica of the scooter for it. I should have given you a picture of that, of the Playhouse scooter. So we got to go to that, and it's like the B-52s and Devo and Danny Elfman, and it's just like all this amazing people, and everybody's just so happy. And Fred Armisen's there, and they're riding the scooter around. It's that whole. I don't think I'll call it a scene, but it's kind of a scene. Like there is like sort of like a fandom. That whole fandom is just fantastic. And so it's a nice break, you know.
Yes.
You know, like after a while, you're like looking at stuff, and you're just kind of like, you know, you need to change. Like you had mentioned before when we were speaking that you're doing a Ghostbusters costume.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if Jason's doing any non-Star Wars stuff.
Not at the moment.
Spot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, get on it. Get on it.
All right.
Get on. Pick some other nerd thing and get on it. It's nice to have something to sort of.
Hey, man, I love that intersection of bikes and prop building. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think that everybody should have a job at a bike shop at some point in time. It was like, it was honestly the best job I've ever had. Have lifelong friends because of it. It would be amazing. So I don't know. Maybe I got to build like.
Yeah, I still talk. The bike shop I worked at was called Village Twin in Summers Point, New Jersey. And I still talk to Waz, the owner. I talked to him just like yesterday. Like, again, like you said, it's just you make these lifelong friends through.
Absolutely.
You know, your interest. I still have the guys I used to ride BMX with back in the 80s. I still talk to them. You know, I don't talk to anybody from high school, but I talk to all those people. You know, it's like,
dang, man. I don't know what I got. I guess I got to make like a replica Pacific Blue Trek Y22 or something
Trek
like that.
Y22 spin wheels,
exactly.
And a Judy 4.
Yeah.
Talk to Hans Ray. He probably still has his.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Yeah. No, I was like prime mountain bike action. Like I was working in I worked at shops for years. So I mean, actually when I moved to California in 2000, I started at a bike shop before I worked at West Coast Choppers. So bikes went to motorcycles, and then
You've seen some eras, that's for sure. Well, Jay, once again, we're so grateful for your time. You've been a great resource for everybody. I think there's a lot of people in the Legion who don't understand exactly how beneficial the fandom has been due to your research and your dedication to this costume. So on behalf of TIE pilots and Imperial sympathizers everywhere, thank you for doing what you have done for this costume in particular, and also your dedication to research. I think for people who forget that this information doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from taking time to measure things, and taking time to reference things to make sure that this stuff is right, so that by the time the information goes out there, you could be saving someone thousands of dollars and hours of time if they want to go for something that's accurate, or at least, just like you're saying, something out there that makes you feel good, makes you feel like you fit in, and gets out there and gets you troop in. So thank you for everything that you've done for the Legion and also for Star Wars costuming. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. But as with all things, Armor Party would not be a full episode until we complete the lightning round.
Ooh.
Jason, you got the bumper?
I got it. Let's do it.
Let's hit it. Jay, best costumes in Star Wars, the good guys or the bad guys?
It's bad guys by a mile. I mean, you don't even have to like. Honestly, after watching Andor, it kind of made me step back a little bit. And I mean, this is like, a lot of people thought this was like goofy, but I did talk to some people that sort of felt the same way. It was sort of like, are we the baddies? Like, it's a little like with the political climate here, like what's going on here and how close it was. It was kind of like, ooh, but as far as aesthetically, I mean, come on, is it even a question?
You're in good company with that answer. Absolutely. Jason, take the next one.
If you could take one costume or prop from the Lucasfilm archives, what would it be?
I mean, obviously, you know what it would be? It would be the Hero TIE pilot helmet that's been painted over, because I'm going to strip that paint off back to a Hero. fix
All
it.
right.
What a good answer, right?
Yeah,
I would pay money and I would take time off work to watch you do that. So
It
if
would
we
be
get
tough,
the
but you can do it.
opportunity,
Yeah.
you heard it here. You heard it here. Jay, if you could cherry pick parts of 3 different costumes, what would your perfect Star Wars Frankenstein costume be?
I mean, it's like, boy, that's a tough one. I kind of like. I'm so like into the TIE pilot, but it'd be something like if a TIE pilot had a cape. Ooh, a cape and
Okay.
I know like canon they don't have a blaster. I know like we let
Yeah,
first
sure.
you can have a blaster, but if there was like, I think a TIE pilot with a cape and some kind of neat blaster.
Okay. So are you thinking like a Vader length cape, or you're thinking like a Mando kind of, or Boba Fett honcho?
Maybe
What do you
the poncho might be good. What might be good? There's in Andor they have that sort of cape neck thing that
poncho from the
poncho-y
Imperial
kind of
Parade,
thing. Yeah, maybe something like Krennic-y, and then I'm currently down a Han Solo blaster rabbit hole.
Okay.
So we'll say you get a DL-44, the Greedo Killer, because that's what I'm building. That's the one you get. You get the Greedo Killer, and you get a cape, and you get a TIE pilot, and you're done. You're perfect.
I'm mocking this up 100%. Jason, ask the next one.
Who's the most punk rock character in Star Wars?
Oh, man. I mean, instantly it goes to Fett. That's the first thing that I think of because he's like scrappy. He's not like really allegiance to Empire, or he does his own thing. He's sort of just, and the way he looks is just sort of like whatever. I had a green helmet and some red, just different color stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So he kind of has that like crust punk look a little bit. Like I think I see him at a Subhuman show or something.
Attitude,
so we'll say Boba Fett is the punk. I mean, that's what I have the Motorhead Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So
100%. I like that. Kind of a spin-off to that question. What is one punk rock track that makes you think of Star Wars?
Oh, wow. It's kind of like never the two will meet. And I don't know if this is specifically punk rock, but I'm going to say it's punk rock. I'm going to say, and you're going to know the song immediately, The Revolution Starts Now by Steve Earle.
Oh, they used it in the Andor trailer.
The Andor
that's
teaser.
Why. That's why as soon as I hear it, I think of that Andor trailer. It's the only sort of like modern music. And I mean, Steve Earle's pretty punk as far as I'm concerned. So that's going to be my choice.
Absolutely.
What TIE fighter variant is the best one and why?
Which one's the best?
Yeah.
I mean, I've put this question out on my on my group before, like sort of poll, like which one do you like the best? Which one do you like the best? And it's always OT, always wins. But I'm going to say the best is Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the look of it. I mean, I think it's just dialed. It looks good up close. It's comfortable to wear, honestly. Like, I mean, it's Rogue One.
It looks like a very functional presentation. It looks like you're whenever you get it on, you're ready to go and do something. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great kit, and the people that worked on it did a great job. Every last one of them.
Yeah. All right. So if Skwarlo Jay is out there in the world of Star Wars, is he rocking a blaster or a lightsaber, and why?
Oh, blaster, 100%. That's what, when I showed up on set with my customer, it was like, you need a blaster. You need a blaster.
Did you end up getting one?
Nobody had a blaster.
No props. No props in that regard. Okay.
We're just citizens walking around. Nobody had.
All right. So let's say besides the DL-44, because we know that one specifically has its own lore, what blaster would you pick from Star Wars for Skwarlo Jay?
You know what I thought? I thought that if a TIE pilot was going to carry a blaster, it would be the Biker Scout blaster.
The holdout.
The little tiny one that goes in the boot.
The
because
EC-17, yeah.
That's right.
It's always TIE pilots fly their weapons. They don't carry weapons. But if they had to carry a weapon, I feel like that would be something small that a pilot would have if he gets ejected or something.
Sure. On the hip or in the boot?
I don't know. I kind of like the boot thing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a 3D printed one that is Velcroed in, and it's only because it's lightweight, because I have a real one that's heavy rubber and it's got the metal hand guard on it. And it is so heavy, and I am so worried that it's going to fall out of my
Is that
boat.
how the original ones are? Are they metal? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
with rubber. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
The Nilo Rotus, I think, wasn't that who did the original run? I think it was Nilo.
I've got the one from RS, the
I was going to say no
Iracular
RS
one. Yeah.
didn't run.
Yeah.
And I think
It's very nice.
NFS did one too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some artist ones out there. So
Yeah.
it's heavy, though. It's definitely heavy. It's
Yep.
very heavy to be in your boots. So Jason, take the last one, man. This is a bike question. I like it.
Yeah.
This is definitely your question.
Yeah, last one. If you could ride your bike on one planet in the Star Wars galaxy, which one is it?
You know what? Of course, I want to say Shikari because that's where I'm from, but it was like rainy and crappy there. So no, it's not good bike riding weather. I'm going to say Coruscant. And the reason why is because the architecture there, it looks like you could find like a little quarter pipe or a wedge ramp built into a building somewhere and kind of like have some fun right there. So I'm going to say Coruscant. Like I bet you there's some cool places to ride there.
Love it. No, that's great, man.
That's a great answer. Jay, thank you, man, for spending all this time with us. It's been awesome. I'm so glad that we've been able to, of course, nerd out on TIE pilots. We've nerded out on details. We've nerded out on process. We've gotten to know a little bit more about Pee Wee Herman's bike. And we've also got to get a sneak peek into what's coming next, but also what kind of gets you going in terms of finding new projects and also your dedication to detail. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And this is usually when I would say, hey, may the force be with us. But there's also a part of me that wants to say, fight the Empire, despite you being very dedicated to one specific costume. But as I've gotten to know you, I know that you are definitely more of a fight the Empire kind of person. So thanks for spending time with us, and thanks for being on Armor Party.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, it's been amazing. And I'm going to give your listeners a treat and you guys a treat. In researching, you find out things that you're not supposed to tell people, and you find out different things about costumes that are secret and all that kind of stuff. So as a bonus, just for you guys, I'm going to reveal something about the Rogue One TIE costume that no one knows until now.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's hear it.
Hang on, let me adjust. Okay, I'm ready. All right.
So, and I know, and it killed me inside to make the CRL with this.
Sure.
Knowing the difference, but the cogs on the Rogue One TIE helmet are not white. They are gray.
Not silver.
Not silver, not white. They are gray. And they are painted on.
Oh.
Not stickers.
Not stickers. It's very hard to tell, but they are painted on and gray. See how white that looks? See how much
Oh
like,
my
like
gosh.
a white sticker?
Yeah, that's cool.
They are painted on and gray. So
it's a lighter shade of gray than the obviously gray stripes that already exist on it.
Yes. So that is
interesting.
That is a secret piece of information that I'm not going to give out anywhere except here. So if people want to know something secret about the Rogue One TIE, they have to listen to this episode and listen all the way through.
That's it, baby. That's it. So we would almost say if we're looking for tone, we're looking for color. My day job is a graphic designer. Sometimes we have to talk about lightness, brightness, values, all these things. Would you say it's almost AT gray?
It's similar, maybe like a shade darker.
Okay, so Falcon gray.
I don't know that color to be exact, but you know what? I love talking about TIE pilots. I love it when people send me messages on Facebook, J TIE Pilot, and ask me details about TIE pilots. So if you want to know the color gray, feel free to shoot me a message. I'd be glad to talk your ear off about what color gray it is.
Now we're talking. All right, we'll reach out to Jay. Jay, we'll see you at Celebration. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm very excited to meet you in person. Keep up the great work. And of course, we'll see you in the sky.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Whoa. It's always so much fun to chat with people that have so much passion on a subject, regardless of what it is. And Jay is certainly the definition of a person dedicated to his craft. That's another Armor Party in the books. Mike and I have a bunch more on the way, and you can find those right here on the Thank the Maker podcast. We're available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please do drop a review, rating, tell a friend, or you can join our Patreon and get access to bonus content, exclusive merch, and our Discord channel. As we say, the patrons really do keep the lightsabers on around here. You can find us at patreon.com/thankthemakerpod. For Mike Forrester, Hondo Supply, I'm Jason Chiodo, New Hope Workshop, reminding you to go make stuff, connect with people, find your passion, troop more, because being an adult is boring, but building Star Wars costumes is anything but.
Armor Party is produced by Mike Forster and Jason Chiodo, with editing by Jason Chiodo. Our themes were created by composer Alton James. Find us on social media at Armor Party Show, and for more Star Wars-inspired conversation, follow Thank the Maker Pod on YouTube and audio platforms everywhere.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.